Hello, my friends. Good morning to all of you. Today I am gonna discuss with you the Marxian point of view of perspective of politics. So hope you are going to like my lecture. And so today we are going to pose a number of questions. What is actually Marxism, and what Marxism is based on? How many principles are here? And when we want to understand the Marxian philosophy, I am going to explain to all of you about the basic principle of Marxism. Then I am also going to understand, we are going to also understand why actually, what is actually the nature of capitalism, why that capitalism is a dangerous phenomena according to some of the scholars who have looked at the capitalism. It is a scary and crazy phenomena, and we are going to look into the matter. And so let's begin and let's start. Paul Marx was born actually in Germany on May 5, 1800, and died in 1803. He was a German philosopher, a great revolutionary thinker, great educationist, and great humanist, and a very renowned socialist thinker, and also revolutionary thinker. So, first we want to understand Marx is also written important books. One is the Lost Capital, and one pamphlet that is the Communist Manifesto, with his very close friend. His name is Friedrich Engel. So, what is actually Marxism? Actually, why do we study? Why do we want to study actually Marxism? Is a very interesting question. We want to understand the Marxism from the point of view to that Marxism is always interested to go into the causes of slavery, into the causes of unemployment, going to understand the injustices which may be prevalent in any society in one form or in another form. That is the Marxism is going to go to root causes, and that's why the Marxism has become the very catchy theory of the world, and it has created the another worldview or another paradigm, which is a reaction to the liberal democratic paradigm. And first we have to look at for example, Lenin has also said in a very vocal language that imperialism is the highest stage of the capitalism. That what we see actually, capitalism is not doing something new, rather it is also creating some sort of imperialism, and that is what has been said by Lenin. Lenin has said imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism. This was said by Lenin, and now we are going to see the number of ideas actually proposed by Karl Marx. First is the historical materialism. Karl Marx was trying to understand that he got his dialectic from the Hegelian thought, and from that dialectic, and which is the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, and historical materialism. He says the ideas are everything could be understood from the ideas, and even the materialism can be also understood from the in terms of ideas, by ideas. But he said that actually the materialism explanation of the society, that the matter is the most important argument through which we have to understand the entire society, because that's why his economic determinism is all about. That economy determines everything in our society. Those people who have the control over the means of production and distribution, they ultimately control the mental background of the people. They ultimately rule out the people, and that is a very important argument made by Karl Marx. And that's why the historical materialism, because if you see the Hegelian idea, it is based on the ideas. Idea is the manifestation of the world. Whereas if you see the Karl Marxian theory of Marxian philosophy, then he starts it from that from concrete materialism. His theory. Then he always was interested to claim that there had been always two classes in a society. One is a dominant class, and one is the weaker class. And for example, in a primitive society, there had been also presence of two classes. One was a dominant class and another was not dominant class. And similarly, the same thing was prevalent in a feudal society. There were two classes, and the same is prevalent in a modern society or in contemporary world, where you have the two classes. One is a capitalist class, and another, he said, a proletariat class. That means the working class. So this was the explanation given by Karl Marx. And then another very important point which I am going to discuss with my students is actually the surplus value. That means the things are actually taking the shape by the the efforts put by the working class, those who are working in companies, corporations, and many places. But what exactly they are not getting the main profit. For example, suppose they are getting $20 for 1 hour, okay, but the capitalist class, I mean the owner of the company, is expecting the $200 from him to pay, or or more than that. If he can produce more than $200, or he can pay he can produce more than $200 or $200, then only the owner of the company will be happy, or it is altogether a story of profit, higher profit. So capitalist class is always interested. Why capitalism has become a very problematic phenomena, according to Karl Marx or the Marxian scholars. They said that the capitalism is, by one way or other, is based on the profit. The capitalist class, the tiny ones, the chosen ones, the selected ones, they want to maximize their profit as much as possible. It doesn't matter what kind of tools and methods and they are using, whether those methods are the modern methods and means, but their main planning is to maximize their more and more profit. And this is the story of the of the capitalism. That means the profit is the main story of main agenda of the capitalism. And sometimes even the war is being conducted in order to explore that whether or not we can get some resources once we are waging a war against one weak nations. And it happens when a dominant nation actually wages a war against a poor nation or a satellite nation or a dependency or periphery, then automatically the dominant country is actually getting a lot of profit or a lot of resources. And that has, we can also see that thing in Ukraine and Russia war. The Marxian philosophy is also based on the classless society or the communism. This is something where Karl Marx was interested in, that he wanted to he was interested that the capitalism will be replaced by, at the end, at final stage, it will be replaced by classless society. And when we say classless society, there will be no class at all. So it is also called a positive humanism and communism, that where everybody will be given according to his ability and according to his need. And so this is the how the capitalism will actually be replaced, as the slavery was replaced by feudalism, and feudalism was replaced by many capitalism, and the capitalism will be that was a kind of assumption of Marxian thought. Then we have to understand what is actually the socialism. The socialism was interested that why this means of production and distribution. Here comes the very important question, a very good question, that socialism, they wanted to say, they are interested in that means of production and distribution. Why does it belong to only the tiny ones? Why does it belong to the very selected ones, very chosen ones? Only few people control the means of production and distribution in a capitalist society. Why can't we give to this means of production and distribution to rest of the society, so that the rest of the society can control this means of production and they will get the benefit? All will get the benefit, rather than giving the benefit to few ones, the tiny ones. So even also one of the very problematic situation what was found by the Marxian scholars in a capitalism, that was the private ownership. There is always a phenomena which is prevalent by one way or other, that is the private ownership is the biggest problem with capitalism, and profit is also the biggest problem with capitalism, because they are always interested in higher interested in a higher profit. So, for example, look at 90%. How come the 90% and how come the 90 people or the 60 people or 80 people will control the half of the half of the economy of the world? That is very much scary. That is something very much puzzled one. Why that is a paradoxical situation. That is how the Marxian scholars are looking at, that 90 people are actually controlling the wealth more than of the half of the population of the world, and that is very crazy, and that is something very scary. So according to the Marxian scholars, especially the American economist Richard D. Wolff is a very great scholar is a great American economist, and that's why he has accepted this that why this capitalism has become so scary, because 90 people have actually, they control the 50% of the economy of the world, and that is something very unimaginable. That is very much big problem. And also according to the Richard D. Wolff, he says that capitalism is a problematic phenomena. Why it is problematic? Because it is unstable system, it is undemocratic system, it is unequal, and it is a profit-based system. Profit of whom? The few people. And there is also another question here raises, that what we produce actually, it belongs to others. It belongs to the tiny class. That is a capitalist class, and this is how the Richard D. Wolff is looking at at capitalism. So I think in other words we can say capitalism was also based on positive humanism or humanist philosophy, and it wanted to emancipate or liberate the working class. That's why the Karl Marx has given a clarion call to the working men of the world, oh workers of the world, you have nothing to lose but your chains, get united and abolish this capitalism. This was the intention of Karl Marx, that the capitalism will be replaced once there will be a unity and among the working class, and they will stand up against the injustices committed by the capitalist class, and they will say no to them. And then finally, within the classless society, he says that the communism will also. So I think where everybody will get according to his ability and according to his need. So I think this was about Marxian point of view of Marxian perspective of politics, and I am very much hopeful that that my students would get a lot of understanding about Marxian philosophy, especially when it comes to the central theme, the central ideas, whether it is a historical materialism, class struggle, economic determinism, private ownership, or surplus value, or classless society. And I hope you are going to like, you would have already liked my lecture. Thank you so much for hearing my lecture. See you next time. Take care of yourself.